you are gonna see some cool ass shit.
Yeah, you don't want two Flavor Flays.
Heart transplants, brain surgeries. I've seen it all.
Dude, that's fucking dope.
Walk up and just get it, whatever it is.
Yeah, brother.
I'm trying not to laugh, bro, but Josh is fucking killing me.
Guess what Navy SEALs do, motherfucker? They communicate and they're on the same fucking page.
Whoa.
Who's ready for a podcast?
Let's go, baby.
Boom.
Is
We're
this
live.
we're rolling? All
Yeah,
right.
we're-
Welcome everybody to the Happy Hoodlums podcast. It is another very special episode. Today is actually my dad's birthday, so rest in peace to Dad. You know, on behalf
Shout
of the
out.
whole Happy Hoodlums crew.
Yes,
And
sir.
so with that, I have just some opening stuff. Oh yeah, also it's your boy Kemper Woodruff, the Happy Hoodlum himself. We have the boy genius, Mr. Josh Taylor, and then we have Zachary Sampson on the ones and twos with the big gun.
Yeah.
Yep, and live in the new room, no less. So if you guys see his setup and it's looking different, it's really that
Oh,
he's
yeah.
got extra sexy surroundings to match it.
There we go.
So I was just thinking about lessons in retrospect, things that
Okay.
I've learned, and that we don't. There's many layers to things, and so I was like, damn, what are some of the things that I learned from my dad? You know, and number one, it's to provide. You know, like no matter where my dad went, it was like he always wanted to show up and contribute in some kind of way. Otherwise, he just didn't even want to be there. And I think that is such a like square one like premise that you can build upon. It's just being of service. And so I've kind of wanted to play with some different thoughts and techniques that I've learned and begin to share those a little bit in the podcast or maybe on my Instagram as a way to just give more service. So this is kind of me announcing that I'm going to start packaging some ideas and lessons that I've learned and integrating them into this. But I just want to start with that first thing of being of service.
All right. We're gonna turn into some full-fledged motivational speakers now, boys. Let's go.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, I didn't realize how motivational stuff that seems normal is. Like,
Yeah.
we take for granted a man that just goes home or wakes up, goes to work, you know, comes home and provides, you know, and is just there, you know, to set an example. And I think it really comes down to values. Learn how to see your life through a lens of like um, what's meaningful and how do I multiply that? How do I expand on that? You know? And that's kind of how each person contributes a different thing. Because we all see life differently. So we're not all going to contribute in the same way. But if we're all thinking from that same place of like wanting to be of service, we're going to inevitably get more creative. That's really what this is about. It's deeper than motivation, it's what's on the other side of action. You know, this is really about results. And like that was something my dad used to tell me, and it used to make me so fucking mad because he used to say, don't give me words, give me results. And that's like always what he would go back to. He was like, I want to be a good example for you. And when I fucked up, he would be like, give me results, give me excuses.
Yeah. That's how you prove yourself
Yeah.
to people. You just kind of you gotta show them what's up.
Well, I'm gonna need a little more enthusiasm and a little less thinking. Quit being so critical, boys. What I need to know is what do you guys want to create? You know,
Oh. I don't know. I'm
like
pretty full force into this podcast and like social media stuff. I want to create something like brand. One with the best friends, the bros. But
Mhm.
alongside that, I want it to be something positive that not only us gain something to learn from, but also
Mhm.
people can learn from us and how stupid we
Yeah.
are.
Well, that's the thing. Like, actually, and I need to rework the book, but there was a book that I wrote like a long time ago, and this was really right when I went to New York. When my best friend had passed away, it was about a year after that. I went to New York, and I wrote what I thought was like the epitaph of my old self, which is like, like the gravestone. Like, this is the remembrance of the younger me when I was fucking around, because this was really after I hadn't had that experience with God, you know, and asking Jesus to help me. So like really I had never encountered the Holy Ghost within myself before that. So this was kind of like me leaving my life in Oregon and being able to look at not only this aspect of my life of where I was at and what I was doing and where that road would kind of lead, right? But looking at, you know, what I grew up being instilled with and where I left those things once I turned about 14 and started fucking with weed and dabbling off in the streets more, um, and just learning myself through high school and degeneracy, really. And so I wrote a book called Calculated Stupidity. And it was a motivational book, I guess, and but I took real stories from my life of dumb shit that I did because I felt like I did the smartest of the stupid shit that came around,
You
right?
basically
Like I
wrote a
tried to
book.
be
You wrote a book for your kids to read when you have them.
well, yeah, and at the end
Here's
of
my
each of
life
these
lessons.
stories, yeah, yeah, exactly. These are real life lessons of shit that I did, and I
Yeah.
wrote it in a funny way, so
Yeah.
that way not only is it putting the spotlight on me and taking it off of that reader's life, because I was reading a lot of like self-help books, and as I
Yeah.
was going through, like, I'm like, damn, I'm trying to escape my shit a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, while I'm learning these things, I wish it was a little more enjoyable and rather than like cut and dry. So this was a way of me taking my life and putting it on display so I could give these people like the most honest understanding of not only where these lessons came from, but like a funny and enjoyable, memorable thing to attach to them, right? And
Yeah.
so at the end of each story, there would be three morals that I learned from it.
Okay.
Yeah. And
That's
so I
smart.
think, yeah, well, I might have to go back and start putting out some of the calculate. Maybe I'll just tell them.
Dude, you
Fuck it.
should
Maybe
become a.
I'll bring them on here.
That should be a children's book, bro.
And each week I could give you guys in a new episode like a stupid story from my past that I learned some shit from until I
You
run
should
out of
you
them.
should make it like a cartoon of like a caterpillar or something.
Why am I a caterpillar?
I don't know.
Why wouldn't that be me?
Well, you are the caterpillar. You got to make it more kid friendly.
I
Josh
know
is
what you
thinking of
I w-
Josh is thinking of that super popular kids book that has a caterpillar on it. I don't remember
no,
the fucking
he
name
he
of it.
said something about weed, and I was thinking weed in children's books, and then I thought of the caterpillar or whatever that smokes weed on Alice in Wonderland.
Oh,
There's a caterpillar that
What's
smokes
that?
weed now?
a cat,
Is that the
like
cat?
the weird
That's not the
cat in the
cat. No,
trees.
no, no.
That's
It's like
Fire's
some
Claw?
worm dude. It's some worm dude, and he's got his little.
I don't know what you're
I,
fucking talking about.
I don't remember no weed smoking going
But
on in Alice
Hunter,
in Wonderland.
okay,
If I
whatever.
would
Hookah. Who he had
explain a
hookah
little
or
bit.
whatever.
who cares
Okay.
at this point?
I don't know.
um,
I looked up to
fucking.
that caterpillar, man.
All right, dope. Jordan Peterson had this quote, and it was about
Mhm.
kids, and it was, you have to allow kids to do dumb thing or dangerous things in a smart way.
Mm. Mhm.
And the title of your book reminds me of that quote a lot.
Yeah. Dude,
Yeah, it's totally true.
Yeah,
do you
It's
guys
I
natural
agree.
listen
for
to
us.
do you guys listen to Jordan Peterson? Or
Occasionally, but
Um,
it's usually just like the stuff that I see on Instagram and YouTube and like
okay,
short clips.
yeah,
gotcha.
I'm not gonna lie. He's a harder person for me to listen to for an extended period of time. I think
Y-
he's
Okay.
phenomenal at the way that he can convey and break down an idea and a topic and display different points of view, like
Yeah.
really efficiently and like non-biased. Um, I think he's really good at that, while still all the while
Mhm.
driving the point that he's trying to make home.
Yeah. He's
You
very
know,
good
like
at
he
getting
don't
his
get
point
lost in that.
across, and he says it in a very like casual manner while he's doing it.
Yeah, yeah. It's just some. I don't know if it's his tone
Yeah.
of voice or something.
Yeah, he
Maybe if
has
I was talking to him in person, I'd be so like gripped by the conversation
yeah.
that I'd be awake. But yeah, if I try to like listen to a podcast for like 2 hours, I'm like, nah, now.
Yeah. I mean, and he takes time to get his point across too, so yeah. But
Why do you ask though?
I was cuz I watched some of his stuff and I think he's a wise dude. And I saw a clip of him like 2 days ago where he had some he was doing one of those live conferences or whatever, live talks, and someone from the crowd came up. There's this guy just sobbing. I mean, he was crying, and you could hear him screaming. And he's just sitting there. He's like, "I need help. I need help." And he's like, "I need uh, God in my life." And he's like, "I want to be better."
Hmm.
And then Jordan Peterson just stood up and walked to this guy. 'Cause the guy ran on stage, and Jordan Peterson goes over to the guy after he had been tackled by security, and he just like he puts his hand on him and he starts praying to him, and I don't know, it was very cool. And he was
Yeah.
crying, and but I just saw a good clip of him, and I love Jordan
So
That
Peterson.
guy went through a lot. He was on
Oh, did you
this is
have you seen that?
public now.
Yeah,
um but he was on like a ton of medications of some kind, and I believe they were antidepressants or something. And it got so bad that he had to be like hospitalized and stuff like that. I think it was for his mental health. Um and the whole time that this was going on with him, his daughter was fighting with the doctors to take him off of the medication they had him on, which was fucking him up.
yeah,
And
mm,
then he had finally been able to get off of it, and then he was able to get back out into putting out his message and shit. But he was out
wow.
of it. He was, like, out of the game for, like, a year or 2. Pretty
hmm,
crazy. Yeah.
This is Jordan
yeah,
Peterson.
Yeah.
Wow, wow, I did not know that.
that's really deep. You know, like they tried to give me some like antidepressant medication, and I think for some people it totally works.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't think that there's anything wrong with that if you get good effects. Um, I just know for me, I didn't plan on taking it long term. They were giving it because I have a lot of nightmares and stuff, and I was having a really hard time sleeping. Um, when I had come back in August and all that stuff had really compounded for me. I was sleeping maybe like 1 to 2 hours at a time, and it was just super sporadic because my back would wake me up or I'd wake up from nightmares, right? And they were giving me something to help me sleep that also had like a antidepressant in it or whatever, but I didn't take it because I had a feeling that if I did take it, I might have like a more adverse side effect than me just not wanting to deal with what my reality was, you know? And I don't think it's any knock to anyone that goes the route of taking them. Maybe they would have really helped me. I don't, and I just snaked myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think there's
Um.
something to looking at something you don't like or sitting in discomfort and trying your best to figure it out.
Yeah. Um. I might have asked this in an earlier podcast. Um. But what are your guys' like thoughts on people being prescribed like antidepressants, anxiety medication, like and like ADHD and all that? What um
I think
personally, thankfully, I don't have to take any of that. Um but my dad takes it, and it's I don't know, and like he's getting off of some of them, but it's
hmm
like, do people really like my dad, like older people that have like seen stuff in the world makes sense. But there's so many people my age and even younger, like in high school, people would start taking this stuff. And I guess my question is, do you think that people in like high school, like early 20s, should be taking it? Because I feel like that's still a part of growing up, and I feel like some ADHD or some things that seem as depression aren't really. That's just a part of growing up. You know, if you
I
see what I'm saying.
I agree with that actually, but I think my take on it is a little different. I
Mm,
think that for the right mind, long-term usage of antidepressants can be okay, but I think the longer you take them like that and don't change your actual life out
yeah,
of that positivity, like if you don't do something to better your circumstances, um, eventually it's like leading up to a potential cliff of dissatisfaction. Um, and hopefully that's not someone who's erratic because
yeah,
there's some people who their brain is at such a deficit that they just need that little short-term boost. Um, Especially if they're not someone that's living an active lifestyle or doing things like say like yin yoga that will help produce like more dopamine and serotonin in a healthy way for you. It's
yeah,
like if you're just constantly seeking dopamine from addictive sources, or you're stuck in that cycle, it doesn't matter what you pick up. You're gonna kind of be on this crazy roller coaster, and those are the people that will probably have those extreme because there's a lot of suicide in the world right now, you know, and a lot of people try to give themselves their best shot and consider medication to be that, you know? And when that alone doesn't do anything because they don't complete that cycle, they just think taking this pill is going to get them over the hump and it makes them feel good for a couple days or they're inconsistent with it. There's a lot of life circumstances that can happen that can lead to that fucking downfall. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And so to bring it full circle, if you can, and I think this does start at those like formative years where your brain's really developing and your hormones are really kicking in when you're a teenager. Um, the opportunity and the challenge to learn how to navigate that cycle of emotion in its extremeness, you know, especially with all the judgment that comes with like social media and stuff.
yeah. High school's a whole different story nowadays. I mean,
hmm
you got to worry about being judged online in front of everyone now. I don't think I would be able to survive high school nowadays, dude. I don't know.
Well, I mean, you just went through it, so
I mean,
you
kind
kind of
of, but
did. But
but now I kind of went through the high school a little bit, but like TikTok wasn't out until like my last year of high school.
Josh got out right at the beginning of the
Yeah.
hardcore cancel culture movement.
I think honestly, if
No,
you
I was out of high school
if
for
you
way
want
before
to
that.
live a great life, you have to be okay with people speculating about
Yeah.
what the fuck it is that makes you who you are. What
Yeah.
makes you the one that gets to drive the nice car, bang the hot chick,
Uh,
be happy, have healthy, kids, be
yeah.
healthy, take care of yourself, whatever it may be,
Mhm.
If you actually have some shit, people are gonna observe it and go, "Huh, what's that guy doing? What's his
Yeah.
deal?" And you just
And
gotta be okay with that.
and like trauma considered now by like people in high school and like my age.
Hmm.
Trauma's not, oh, I experienced this in real life. It's like, oh, I heard about someone's story, and now like your trauma can be considered someone else's trauma, basically. So if someone else has gone through something, I guess you can relate. I don't know.
I think we
Trauma,
overuse the word, yes, because
yeah, I think trauma is very over
real trauma
exaggerated.
has of actual visceral body and chemical response.
Yeah,
Like true, like PTSD has that level of like response
yeah,
associated with it, and your chemicals correlate with your fashion of thinking and just your overall state of being.
yeah,
When your heart rate starts increasing and things like that, your palms start sweating, just different kind of shit,
yeah.
when that fight or flight just
And
kicks in.
like if you're in the military, a cop, like firefighter, that stuff,
And it's not,
that'll,
yeah, it's not to say things aren't traumatic, right?
yeah, yeah,
Like there's some real fucking raw shit that you can experience, but sometimes it's like you look back at it and you kind of dissociate from it. It doesn't have the texture of like real intimate trauma.
yeah.
Like if you talk to people that have to do um, violent things or something like that, and listening to people, because we all are born with some sense of like inherent knowing of right and wrong.
Yeah,
It's just in you. And that's kind of what makes the world go around and operate in the way that it does. But there's a lot of people that are subject to shitheads, and some people are just shitheads themselves. But I can't figure out what comes first, the chicken or the egg. Um, but
I
if you
don't know.
talk to someone who say like, describing their first time stabbing somebody, and they're like the pop of like the texture when the knife goes in, like things like that. And I don't know how we got
Mm.
on this fucking topic, but that shit is like, just hearing it, you're like, fuck, dude, like,
Yeah,
damn, you went through that. That's something that's gonna be different
I
than
don't think
just being
that's.
like, oh, I was standing across the street and someone got hit by a car. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
I don't think being told the story is considered trauma. I think if you witnessed it or had any,
No,
yeah,
I'm saying the person who actually did that
yeah,
versus,
like that guy
you
is
know,
in more trauma than the person hearing the story. Yeah,
no, I'm saying the person who's standing across the street and sees a car accident or something, right?
hmm,
Like, it doesn't have that same visceral connection, you know, that
yeah,
someone who's done something like this might have. They're
yeah.
just different things. Yeah.
Like if you guys told me, like if Zach was telling me something traumatic that happened to him, that's not my trauma,
Mhm.
you know. But people consider that trauma now, and they like have to go to like therapy and all this for it, and it's like
I would
what?
say that's just a fucking ultra sensitive person. I'm not gonna say they're a stupid person, but
Well, then
like there's
half
a
this world is ultra sensitive, bro.
that
I
might be
don't
a
know.
good thing if we can learn how to manage ourselves better, and we get
Yeah,
more people. And I think there's a wantingness for people to become more loving and open and expressing of themselves.
yeah,
But it's interesting because it's like the best of times and the worst of times,
yeah,
you know, and it's all at the same time. So yeah, you have more people wanting to do this, and then it seems that you have more people hating or judging, But what the fuck is really social media and stuff? Like you have to kind of put yourself back into like what's reality, and
I,
that in lies like the hard questions of what are your principles.
I feel
Well,
like social media has made it so us growing up is just like forever high school. I
that's a good way to describe it.
I feel like my the rest of my life is gonna be like high school because of social media, dude. Like
Damn.
my dad will see an old high school friend on Facebook and be like, "Oh my gosh, I'm gonna be on TikTok scrolling and be like, oh, there's Sarah doing the renegade. Like, uh, I don't know. I'm
What
not.
are your thoughts, Mr. Zach? You're
Yeah,
awfully quiet down
what you
there.
thinking of, dude?
I get nervous sometimes when Zach's not saying anything.
Yeah, I feel like he wants to
He's
beat me
working.
up all the
Why?
time.
I feel like you're working up a spirit bomb over there, and like I just want to hear it.
Let it explode.
I mean, going back onto like the antidepressant talk,
Yeah,
um, it's like Kemper said, it does help people. Um, However, and I don't remember where I seen this, so I can't really like fact check myself. But I seen somewhere that long term use of antidepressants can actually have a negative effect on like being able to be self sustaining, right?
Mhm.
So like obviously the longer you take something, the harder it is to get off of it. Um
Yeah.
and so what the video was talking about was do it for like a cycle, right? And then you take time off. And then you cycle time on, time off so that you can
Mhm.
also get your body back to like a baseline. And at that same time, hopefully like Kemper was saying, you did something with that up time while on it and your off time isn't so bad.
yeah.
And so every new cycle, you're progressing more and more, and hopefully, eventually, when you go off of it one time, you never have to go back on it again.
Mhm. I think
Mm.
that kind of flies in the face of a lot of Western philosophy, though, right? Like that's good in theory, but in practice, we want things quick, you know,
Yeah, that's
and
true.
um, because we're so used to efficiency, it's very different from other places in the world, where um, it's like if everything is much more inconvenient all the time, you're not gonna worry about the length of this cycle of depression. It's like if I'm taught that my emotions are kind of like the seasons of the cycle, or the cycle of the seasons, rather. Sorry, I said that backwards. Um, you know, that might seem more normal to me rather than me being sad. I think that something's actually going wrong, like with my life. We think that life is just supposed to be good, 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 you know, and it's not. That's not a complete life experience. And I think if you live in like the eastern part of the world, they have a different religion and philosophy. You know, they have multiple, but they kind of go in line with that, like Taoism and stuff like that.
In
Um,
in the Meditations by Marcus Aurelius,
Mm-hmm.
he talks about how nothing is good or bad because it's the nature of life.
Mm. Yeah.
And what you were just saying kind of just reminded me of. Well, he didn't say that specific quote. That was like fucking summarization
Paraphrase.
of what he said. Yeah,
Yeah.
paraphrase.
um,
But that's very close to what he was saying. But yeah,
I
Mm-hmm.
I was watching this video. It was this guy giving a speech, obviously, and he was talking about how he had this conversation with his therapist, and he had that mentality. He was like, "Why isn't life just good, 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 good?" And his therapist said, "Think of it as one of those heartbeat sensors in a hospital. You don't want it to be flatlined, right? You don't want it to just be average the whole time, because that means you're dead. And so that's why you think of a heartbeat sensor is because it goes down and up. So you
Yeah.
know
Everything's
you know
waves.
when it goes down to bad, it's gonna go up.
Hmm.
That's why
It's
that's why you don't
waves
want.
and frequency.
Yeah.
Because really, when you look at life, it's like um, I can't do the math until I know the formula.
Yeah.
Once I see the formula, I can then apply this data that is the numbers, you know?
Yeah.
Once I understand the way that creation happens, you know, and what my part is within it, I can then focus on and try and process things and make sense of things. But if I don't have any direction on that, it's like me just looking at numbers on a page and you telling me, well, what's the answer?
Yeah.
It's like, all right.
It's like I don't even know how to do this.
It's impossible to figure it out.
Yeah.
But if you just observe life, nature will truly reveal its way to you. You can see it in the seasons, you can see it in the ways that animals behave, and it just goes on and on and on. The way crops grow, all this stuff is reflective of the same principles of, you know, investing and waiting through different cycles, you know?
I don't think we'll ever know the formula to life. I think as life goes on, we're just making our own formula and we're the only ones that have that one. I think we
Mhm.
all individually get our own formula and how I don't think there's one way to live life, you know?
I
Mm.
agree. I just think if you look at it from a broad scale, um, there's kind of patterns that you recognize.
Yeah.
You know, no matter what the actual actions are that fill
Yeah.
in the detailed blank. If you
Like
look
if
at
you're
it in the grand scheme,
like if you're really nice to your boss, you might get a raise, like that stuff like that. You realize little
I don't
things
know.
that I don't know. That's what I was thinking of. You
that
start
was
realizing little things
that was your epiphany.
like hey, my neighbor likes
Hey,
I'm getting a coffee. I don't know. Yo.
as long as it
Hey.
starts with hey.
Hey. Hey.
Dude, if
That's
someone
the clip.
approaches me like
That's
that,
the clip.
and yeah, hey.
Hey.
I was thinking so hard, dude, and then he
Hey.
says,
Top of the
"Hey," and I
morning
just
to you.
Well, you just
dude.
took me completely out of, you know, left field with that one.
But yeah, like the formula to life is like the morals that you have, you know? Like simply be nice to people or something, you know? That's the formula.
Yeah, but I think there's
Mhm.
also like foundational stuff. That's really why I am
That's what
such a
morals are.
huge advocate for people to learn about the law of attraction, and particularly in the way that like Abraham Hicks lays it out, because it's such a like simple step by step kind of thing that we really overcomplicate it.
Yeah.
You know, the most complex part is not our doing. You know, we're just tasked with almost like the simple part of emotional control and, you know, like thoughts, and really the correlation between just better feeling thought, worse feeling thought, you know, and going in one of those two directions. It's really simple for us. That's really the only two choices you ever have, is a thought that feels a little better or a thought that feels a little worse, you know, and out of that will create it'll push you to what side of the emotional spectrum you're going to harmonize with more, and that's going to become your norm, right? And it's interesting because if you choose to harmonize with like the positive side, a lot of good things happen, and then when a bad thing happens, it sucks and it feels really freaky, that it's like you're doing good, doing good, doing good, and then you dip quick, right?
Oh
On the
yeah.
other side, it's like when you're doing bad, it's almost like the opposite. It's like, man, bad just keeps getting worse, and then out of nowhere, you'll get a little blip of hope. You know, like something will come that'll be like, what? Maybe there's hope, and then it just goes back to like being shitty. And until you learn to master that dynamic of a little better feeling thought or a little worse feeling thought, and that hot cold game within yourself, you're gonna be at the mercy of just your mind's gonna be in chaos, you know, especially if you pick up your phone and you're just constantly on your phone, watching videos, digesting content, and overwhelming your senses. Like if you're not wanting to think, but your brain's still constantly narrating and thinking things, you're overstimulated, bro. And you got to do something about that because that's where that chaos comes from. That's why they say guard your mind because now you're at the mercy of just what you're intaking. Whether you say, yeah, I like that, or no, I don't like that. Once it starts running in your head and it's got a place in here on its own, bro, you're kind of like, you're fucked. You need to take back control. And that's something we got to keep tabs on ourselves with.
Hmm.
Yeah, because otherwise you can't have peace, bro.
That's crazy. Yeah.
If you can't just sit and not be forced to think, you have no peace. Is that fucking simple. And that's why it's like we hear a lot of people talk about meditation and a lot of people will speculate on it and be like, "No, I can't do that. It just doesn't work." Well, that's why. It doesn't work cuz you're stressed out, bro. You're always thinking. Your brain never shuts off. If you could just sit there and actually learn to sit there, bro, there's so much depth that's about to come. Like you're on the precipice of finally reaching meditation, reaching in to this spot inside of your soul that's like it's like a pocket of the universe, your own little corner of the universe. God gave you a room just like this, where you can go and convene and seek guidance within yourself, or just whatever feeling you want to feel. You can find bliss. Memories will start to surface to you that are the things you really need to think about. Sometimes it'll feel freaky as hell and it'll hit you with a feeling that you're not able to sit there and allow it within yourself. And you'll notice it's like your energy kind of starts to like move, but it's not that euphoric energy that lights up your chest. It's like uncomfortable. And that's kind of you being able to process and look at something that you've experienced and accept it, even though you don't like it, you know? And that's really the unpacking and the overcoming of it. But until you can accept that that feeling exists and that you experienced something that made you feel that way, and then release it and choose to feel differently and say, it's okay that that happened, but that's not how I want to feel. And if you can't do that, then you're going to be stuck in that area of your life in that time in some way. There's an anchor point there. That's how meditation kind of helps us unwind and unpack things. But if you can't just,
Uh, I
yeah,
have a little bit of a different thought on how meditation is.
go for it. I want to
Um,
hear it.
because I think people overcomplicate it by saying, I can't quiet my mind. I can't shut my brain off. You don't have to shut your brain off to fucking meditate. All you have to do, sit down, listen to some like decently soft music, and then just think about your breathing. If you can't stop thinking about stuff, just think about in out and focus on how it feels as the air goes in through your nose and how the air comes out of your mouth. Think about that. And that's how I literally had to learn how to meditate. And
Well,
now I can sit in complete silence by myself calmly and not freak the fuck out.
hmm I think that if you really look at all meditation, it centers around the breath work, right?
Yeah.
And so you're absolutely correct. And that's like one of the best ways to kind of go about training yourself. I'm just saying, and I agree with you. Your mind isn't naturally what you'll notice is once you've spent enough time in like non-thought, it's almost like inspiration might hit you. And sometimes that inspiration comes in the form that feels like a really exciting thing that you want to go like explore. And it might be a thought or you actually wanting to go do something. Or it can be something that you haven't thought about in a long time, but you're still not at true peace with, you know? And so it's not that you're not thinking, it's just like I'm observing the thought rather than trying to drive it somewhere, because that feeling that I need to take this thought somewhere else than it would go naturally is what leads to that unrest within yourself. That you can't just be here, fully present under any and all circumstances.
I think I'm tracking.
Yeah, because I think I'm talking like really this is a part of self mastery, you
Mm.
know, where and it's funny because in order to do that, in order to become the master of yourself, you have to surrender to, you know, who you are and to the fact that you didn't really make you, right? And so in surrendering to those two things, I'm not saying that everyone comes to the conclusion that God made them. Some people think they were tadpoles that walked out of the water, you know? Like
Heck yeah, it
but
was.
you have
That's
to surrender to those two things. I am, you know, what I am, and I did not make myself. Like
I have a
fundamental.
question,
Yeah.
and this is gonna go real deep into the religious side, so buckle up.
oh
All right,
crap.
All
let's do
right.
it.
Let's
So
go.
Here we
let
go.
me let me break it down without interruption first.
Hold on, I gotta
Yeah, go
get
Okay.
for
God on my side.
it.
Gotta put my
All
cross
right.
on for this.
So you believe in a singular, unseen, unknowing, all-knowing, all-powerful force that can do anything and everything you could ever imagine and knows everything and anything you could ever imagine, created everything and anything you can imagine from nothing, but you can't believe that something that we evolved from something else. You think what's proven fact in our lives is impossible to the fact that this miraculous thing happened out of nowhere. When maybe that miraculous thing out of nowhere actually happened, but that thing also created evolution that we walked out of the fucking water as tadpoles. I actually don't believe in that, but I'm just fucking
Throwing it out there.
I'm throwing it out, throwing the thought out
Okay.
there.
Well, I guess for me, I look at things in terms of like frequency, right?
Okay.
Everything in life exists as a frequency, in this realm. And so there had
Yeah.
to be a point of origin or something that creates that, right?
Mhm.
And so that energy source is like, I think God is like this singular source, and yet at the same time in this dualistic universe, like I can't even comprehend it, but there has to be both. All things are contained within that, and out of that comes this spectrum of frequency that is good and evil, light and dark, sound frequencies, everything exists in a frequency that has high and low to it,
Yeah.
light, dark, and it's all expressed that way, you know? And that creation, the creator of that creation is God. And God created that creation and loved the creation, consciously chose to love the creation and gave us as creations in reflection of that image of our creator a world to create within. And so all things are a reflection of the greatness that is God, and that is that it has to, whether it's good or evil, it has to exist, polarity. There has to be equal amount of darkness as light, or capacity for both. There's the ability to do something that mirrors the inverse. Does that make sense?
That part makes sense. Yeah.
And so it's expressed, and me where religion comes in is Jesus is the gateway to the Holy Ghost that I experience, and the only one that I know. And there's a ton of literature that is the Bible, that expresses principles that exist within other philosophies that aren't just the Bible. Like the law of attraction is really, really directly correlated with what Jesus was teaching, and why I'm such a huge proponent for people, or advocate for people to really go and learn about the law of attraction and then look at what Jesus did, is it makes sense in how he was teaching. And I feel like that's the stuff that the Bible is really should be focused on. And um the other stories within there are expressions of many principles and lessons that you could just as easily learn from, um, farming books, business books, um, philosophy, but it's all in one thing, you know? And I think there is like, the Bible is true in a lot of senses, but I think there's some senses, um, that I can't say I have a method to understand it. I think a lot of it is metaphorical, and without the capacity to make sense of the different components within these stories, which is why I'm saying, like, I'm not a theologian by any means. I'm just a dude that listened to a bunch of TD Jakes and, went to church a little bit and meditated a good amount and kept seeking guidance. You know, I sought it in human beings, but we're flawed and we all have different flaws, and I was really frustrated that I never had one comprehensive role model, right? And this is something, going back to my dad's episode, maybe the only birthday gift I can give to him is just say, I'm sorry that I was really judgmental of my dad, and I felt that, at the time, you know, uh, he wasn't he wasn't perfect, and there's a part of the little kid in me that, like, that heard about that, you know, and so I felt that I'd been lied to, or I had a sense of independence that I needed to take things on my own because that's what being a man was, blazing your own trail and learning from every resource you can, good resources, bad resources, and they all let me down. And it wasn't until I started going within myself, you know as a son of the creator, that I was able to get some answers that were directly correlated to my spirit. And had I not ever experienced the Holy Ghost and Jesus Christ, I wouldn't have that, um way of viscerally feeling feedback of this is for me or not for me. This is good guidance, this is bad guidance, And so for me, I'm doing a disservice if I don't tell you, knowing how much that's impacted my life. That's why I'll never shut up about it. That's the realest shit in the whole universe. There's times that I've been like, I don't know how I'm gonna find this person, and this person I know is in dire need and they really need me, and then bam, right across the street, that person's right there, you know and in a dire situation, and I'm right there. I ain't talked to this person, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can't tell me that God ain't real, because how the fuck I didn't orchestrate that shit. You know what I mean? And it all came about because someone called me that I talked to at that point in my life maybe like once or twice a year. And he's a hermit. He don't ever want to leave most of the time. and he just asked me to go for a walk, and then I encounter this on that walk. I'm a product of divine interventions. So it's like I just undeniable things that I can't. There are too many moving pieces to orchestrate for me to not be like, no, this is by design, and there's intelligence,
Yeah.
and it's benevolent. It's
Some of the
good.
stuff that is around and that's been created is kind of like it's kind of like there's nothing else. Like me personally, I couldn't believe in something else. Like my only explanation is like God had to do this. Like you can't tell me that like just poof, we're here. I don't know. There's got to be a start to it. So
What are your thoughts, though, Zach?
On what specifically?
Well, just because now that you got my
our
perspective on
yeah.
it,
What
you know,
where what how do you think everything starts? What is r- your belief or no?
Truthfully, I
Be
don't
straight
really put
up.
a whole lot of thought in the start
Yeah.
because I'm right here. I don't need to know what the
selfish
fuck
ass.
happened.
You selfish ass. I'm just playing.
How is that selfish?
How
That's
is that
just
not
me like, hey,
selfish?
dude, it happened. Like, I'm gonna enjoy what's here.
Hey Zach,
I don't need to
I'm not
figure
saying
it
that's
out.
wrong. I'm
hey,
just
But
saying
what
it's selfish.
I got something to say real
it's
quick.
not selfish.
I,
Fucking go ahead. Go ahead.
before I get it and lose it. Um, and this just popped in my head when you said why believe in the start or whatever, or you don't worry about the start. But like video games or anything you do, you have to learn the basics before you can be advanced. So it's kind of like believing in God or believing some kind of start is kind of like setting that base for you. It's kind of like
Josh,
the base for morals. I don't know.
that might be the dopest fucking shit that you dropped on this podcast yet. The way that you framed that up.
That didn't make any sense to me. But
Dude,
okay.
it makes sense. Like a game, you need to know the basics. Like if you're playing Call of Duty,
Yeah, but
you need to
how
know.
does no. The basics help you make it through the game.
Yeah, but
Knowing the start doesn't do shit for me.
that no, I'm treating the basics as the start,
I know, but if you're equating them to each
bro.
other, the knowing the start should help me through life.
Exactly. Yeah. So knowing the basics should help you through life.
No.
That,
I think
I figured it out all by myself without that. Why would I need that
what
to help me
Josh is
more?
saying, I guess, in terms of let me translate this for the religion side of it, like the religious viewpoint, is like in order, since I'm a reflection, since I'm a creator, learning the essence of creator, you know, the way to create something is like really important. So going to that like square one basic of like where did it come from? There's a ton of clues in there as to what the landscape of life is and what it affords you, I guess, in terms of choices, and then how you should choose. That's the best way to choose, I guess, or something like that. Like how to make choices that are the most beneficial in terms of fulfillment of your spirit, which is really what it's about.
See, I don't believe you need to know all that to be able to make those choices.
And I don't think you're wrong.
Yeah. That's
Not
kind
at
of
all.
that's what I'm saying. And I don't think that's fucking selfish, motherfucker.
No, I think it is
Fuck
because
you.
okay, hold
well,
on.
I'm right here,
I
bro.
got
So fuck y'all,
I
man.
got a I
No,
got
that's not what
Here.
I'm saying. I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
right here. I would rather live right now than
yeah.
having to spend my entire life trying to figure out what happened back then.
Yeah.
I appreciate the people who care about those things. And if you have something interesting to say about it, I'll listen and I'll absorb the information.
All right,
But
I got
I'm
something to
not
drop.
going out of my way to figure it out.
Okay, I
No,
got
I'm looking
that
at
that
right here and in the future.
yeah.
That's when I'm looking.
that's what a lot of people do, and
I
that's
don't want to get
completely
caught
fine,
up in some
you know?
shit.
All right.
And
Let me drop another bomb. Let me drop another
alright, go
one.
for it.
All right.
Oh, this one's not a
So,
dud too.
I, no.
Sorry, that was fucked up. I'm sorry.
um. So let's say you're out in public. Okay, this is for Zach. Zach, imagine you're out in public. All right.
Okay.
You have an you have an altercation with someone, a negative
Okay.
altercation. Okay.
Unlikely,
Um.
but okay.
Well, say they tripped you or something. They walked in front of you and were being an a hole. I don't know. They were being rude to you.
Okay.
How do you know that what they're doing is negative or rude?
I don't. That's why
Ho-
I wouldn't have a negative reaction with them. I just told you earlier, right? When we were talking to Kemper, or I said this to Kemper, in the book Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, nothing in life is good or bad because it is the nature of things.
Mhm.
Okay.
But
I
then
don't.
the question is, what is your nature?
It's what I naturally do. And you
Yeah.
can't blame, and this is why I don't really
But
blame people for doing bad shit, is because that's true to their nature. That's who they are. They were going to do bad shit.
No.
I think that's very wise, but I think the
Okay.
other
Okay.
half of that
So
is
that.
hold on. No, no,
Okay.
no, shut up. Look, the other half of that the other half of that is you're doing bad things until you become conscious of the choice and what it feels like. You know, when you start owning your habits and you're no longer just reacting, you know, and you start choosing the way that you want to go. That's the self-mastery aspect and why you need to know your nature. You need to first know where you are
Well,
and
I
how
feel
you
like
are.
learning about yourself, like if you learn about yourself, if you end up doing that, that was always within your nature.
Okay.
Like
Mhm.
you were meant to learn about yourself, and that's why you become a better person. And that's your nature. Your nature was to become better.
Okay.
Some
So
people never become better,
so
and that's
your
just their nature.
nature, the nature. How do you learn? Like, where did you learn that from? Like, what in
Are
your
you asking me
life,
or what?
Zach? His nature, how he describes it, his nature specifically. Where did you learn that? Because that's to me that's considered like morals. I would say. So where did you learn your morals?
If you're trying to say that religion is the only thing that can determine morals,
No,
I
no, no, no,
strongly
no, no,
disagree with that.
no, no, no.
But
I'm
what
trying
I'm
to get to a
saying
point.
is over time, I've learned different things. What makes me feel good is doing good things. And I
Yeah,
know that good things are good things because of people's reactions to those good things.
yeah.
See, I think it's more that fuck, I lost it. I'm sorry, you guys.
You
It's
get.
okay.
I had
I was mainly think. I just want to know where he gets it. So, like me specifically, I mainly get it from being Christian. That's where my morals, like generally, came from, and then adding on was life lessons. But like, where did your moral of just like people have their nature?
it came
That's what I
back.
want.
It
Maybe
came
this
from the
will make
book
more sense.
that I wrote
Maybe
that
this
I
will
read.
make more sense, bro.
Oh,
Okay, so
Okay.
check it out. I could be like I'm protective in my nature, right? But I could be doing it be out of a like codependent habit, right? Or I can do it in a healthier way, where it's truly from and that's where the seed of intention kind of splits, right? This codependent
Yeah.
thing still kind of has a neediness in it, you know, that's self-serving. Where over here, this other piece is just pure in its intention of being caring, right? And it may come out and be expressed through the same fucking action, but one might be not by choice and one's by conscious choice. You see what I'm saying? And that's what I'm talking about, mastering your nature. So you're no longer just looking at like it's not just what you do, it's why you do it. And that's where the nature piece comes in. I naturally gravitate towards helping people because that's a part of my nature. But why I do it can be healthy or unhealthy. You know, I can be your best friend, but if I do it for selfish reasons, so I don't get forgotten, because I feel unforgettable.
You're not forgettable, Kemper. Trust me.
Well, well, thank you, but I'm just saying, bro, like that's something that I really had to address within myself, like the why of what I was doing, and it was really
Yeah.
because of like abandonment issues and shit, and that's really what it is, just losing people that you fucking love in an instant when you don't know, and it's happened so many times in my life, you know what I mean? That it's like that that reality, is like something you have to come to terms with and then show people not to be scared so they can truly enjoy the moments that they have. That's part of being a man. That's protecting for the right reasons the nature of life really and showing people, hey, like, come on, it's okay to feel that. It's okay to feel scared. You know? It's okay to not have an answer to that kind of shit. That's being a man. That's being a good example. Is doing it for the right reasons and people can feel that shit. Religion or not, you feel it in your fucking soul when someone's being genuine or disingenuous with you.
Yo, I love philosopher Kemper.
Thanks, brother.
That's why I
But
started giggling. I
honestly,
was like, I love this guy.
I can't take credit for it for real. Like I'm the conduit that it comes through, but like this is uh stuff that these are God principles, that really were given to me through like walking through a lot of bullshit in life and a lot of bullshit that I created for myself.
Yeah.
I'll say that too. I think, we're put here like I think God really gave us the ability to create. Like he gave us the framework and we're like, here, you're not gonna make any more new shit. Everything is gonna somehow come out of these chemicals or whatever that exist within this universe, right? But like these elements, but out of that, we're able to just have kind of an interesting free for all that's naturally balanced and it's built in, through karma and law of attraction, these universal principles, you know, of treating people right, and it all comes down to like emotional reasoning. I'm thirsty than a motherfucker.
Yeah, me too, bro, and I don't have no fucking water.
I'm at the
Rip,
bottom of
dude.
this one. You saw I got like nothing in here. Just smashed
Hey,
Yeah,
it.
bro.
Zach. Doesn't that look so good? Don't
Hey,
you just want to
Josh.
sparkling
It
eyes?
looks so good.
You guys are awesome.
Fuck you.
Damn.
I like
That was,
how I'm like, you guys are
that's
awesome.
rude.
Fuck you.
I love you, Kemper. Yo, Kemper's a good
Perfect.
guy to learn from, you know? I ain't gonna put nothing out there,
Yeah,
but
totally.
we've had some good talks, and Kemper's like an older bro that does
Well, thank
stupid shit.
you.
It's facts.
Yeah, I definitely have done
He's
my
a cool
fair
guy
share
though.
of stupid things. We can't help it in one sense. Not for a while. It takes a little bit to start figuring shit out. Cause I learned, man, and this is something I've been flirting with, is like pain makes people do weird shit. That's just the fact of life. Everybody gets a different kind of weird, but if you fucking subject somebody to enough pain, and they don't have a sense of hope or a lifeline out of that, bro, they do some weird fucking shit. And you have to start looking at it, and like when you're on the receiving end of it and it feels hella inhumane, you're like, fuck, you know? Like I had to stand across the street from my dad's fucking funeral service kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like not many people are ever, I don't know one person that I've ever heard have a weird ass experience like this that weird. Where it's like you're there, but you're not there. You know?
Yeah.
It's just some unique shit, you know? And it makes you just kind of have to look at what you want out of life, you know? That's what dignity is. Like, what do I want? What do I want to feel? Who do I want to be? Yeah, this is happening, but who do I want to be while I go through it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure that out too.
Yeah. And it's a lot of responsibility. Like, and when you don't want to take responsibility for that or you just want an escape from it, um, that's when you start doing erratic kind of behaviors. And until you start observing yourself, you might not even register it. It might seem super duper familiar. It might be all that you know, because it's all that you've taught yourself, all that you've seen around you, you know? But once you start observing yourself, something will click in your head and you're like, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way for me to do this, you know? And that seeking, like in that little adventurous spirit of seeking, is where like the greatest leaps and bounds and, are made and rocks are turned over and you find awesome fucking little Easter eggs. Well, guys,
That's fact.
I think that's about it. I think I've about dried up your guys' noggins. Zach's
My
thirsty.
brain's fried, bro.
I love you guys.
Dude, Zach's been
And
Love you
sitting there
too.
all so quiet the whole time.
well, thank you guys because
Yeah.
the the audience needs to know you guys waited like an hour and a half or so longer than normal because we had to kind of do some scheduling just to make this happen on this day. Um,
Yep. We still
and I
did it.
really appreciate it. Yeah, I appreciate you
Woo-hoo.
guys staying up and being here for me and letting me um give my dad another something, because I don't want to just say that there's like 2 days a year, but there's 2 days a year that undoubtedly we're gonna give props to my pops on this podcast, and
Sure.
for y'all making that happen and not missing the first go around, you know, that first opportunity is a big one, so don't fuck it up. That's
Yeah.
closing words. All right. Make good on your opportunity.